on there. All right. Well, didn't think the fishing rod holder on the kayak would actually make a good tablet stand, but it does. So, how's it going, everybody? JoyZ of Sorrow. Welcome to the JoyZ of Sorrow channel. This is a live stream, so I'm going to wait maybe 20, 30, seconds, half a minute there to see if anybody actually stops by it first. So, let's see, turn on, before I forget, I'm going to turn on the live chat. And, fuck, we are talking about an axe, so I probably, oh, one moment. I might have something to test this on. All right, there's two people here. Give me just a second, guys, and I'll get, well, hold on. I have 2x4s. Anyways, guys, somebody left. Oh, well, I'll just get this shit started. How's it going, everybody? JoyZ of Sorrow. Welcome to the JoyZ of Sorrow channel. And today, I'm going to give you a first look. It's not really much of a review of my new toy. A cold steel hand axe. And what do I mean by hand axe? Well, it's not a tomahawk. This is almost about a meter long or a yardstick long, about a few inches short. And then, if you notice, the actual axe head itself has a beard on it, the flat bottom, reminiscent of a Viking style axe. And the top is pretty decently pointed. Doesn't really have much of an edge. I think you could still chop coming out of the factory, but we'll say the edge isn't really that impressive out of the box in comparison to a lot of other cold steel products. How's it going, Parker? There was a sticker on here that said American Tomahawk Factory, which American Tomahawk Factory is contracted under cold steel to make their heads. And I think that goes for all their axe heads and even the tomahawk heads as well. But they are made in Taiwan, so kind of awkward to have something called named American something company, but whatever. I got a good deal on this on Amazon for 29 bucks and change. And main reason I got one of these, I've never had my own axe. Now, it's not to say that I've never had access to some axes. I've, working in construction, there's demolition axes, there's different sorts of axes, there's wood splitting axes and things like that. But I've never actually bought my own axe. Bought a toy axe one time maybe. I bought a prop axe for a Halloween costume, but yeah, never a legit axe. So, main reason I really never thought about buying one probably has to do with construction. My old man did construction, well, practically all his life, and so he had a lot of tools around, and so when I went and picked up, hammers and hatchets, I saw them as these really big and bulky things. The only time I ever even had any curiosity towards an axe in the sense of like weapon or second kind of cool or collectible item was probably when Lord of the Rings first came out, the movies. Sure enough, this is actually a cold steel hand axe. So this is 1055 high carbon steel on the head here. So Gimli, the dwarf character, or was it a dwarf? Yeah, it was a dwarf. The dwarf character had a bunch of axes. So the only time I actually paid attention to axes, but even then the axes in those were very geometrically shaped, pretty bulky. So an axe never really just became my thing. But lately I've been watching a lot of videos and doing some studying about, medieval combat, how people fought in the days before firearms became a pragmatic thing, or more commonplace in our society, or in any society in general. And you'd think things like swords were more common ground in those times for the majority of the people in the world. And the truth is, no. If you look at several societies in many parts of the world, things as fancy as swords were really held more for people of high status, people of the upper class, people of the fighting class, not really for the common man. There are some exceptions, of course. For example, in Europe, there's a lot of short swords that were made that were meant for more for the civilian population. But really, like, if you think of all like the rich, the Lionheart swords, the hand and a half sword, most of these swords were military swords or combat swords at one point in time. So, what did the poor man use during these times? Well, surprisingly, one of the most common poor man weapons is an axe. So you can pretty much say that the axe is the Saturday. I wouldn't call it. Some people might call it that. I'll call it that for namesake. But you could say the axe was like the Saturday night special of the medieval period. The poor man's weapon. You were broke as fuck. You had to go kill somebody. You had to defend yourself. What can you get for a couple bucks? Yeah, the axe really does come down to it. One, it's a tool. So somebody walking around with an axe back then would have not been something to raise alarm or aware of. That person could have be going to go get firewood, or they're going off into the field to do work of some sort. So yeah, the axe is one of the standard oldest poor people weapons to exist. So when I started looking at that, and then this is around the time that I discovered Kaz's channel. Kaz had one video out where he showed off his axe, and he talked about how he liked axes, and that's when I started thinking, I've never bought myself an axe. So I did my research and I looked at some people that made axes. Condor, or the company Condor, makes really good axes, I hear. However, they are a couple bucks out of my range. So when I saw this baby on Cold Steel, I saw this baby on sale, this Cold Steel on sale at Amazon for about $30, I got happy. And I actually had to wait 2 months to buy this because the first time I saw it, when I saw it on sale, I didn't jump on it. And with Amazon, things that are on sale with Amazon, you should know, if you don't jump on that the moment you see it or as soon as possible, that price can change. Either it could get lower, usually it doesn't, it gets higher, but it can change. And then Amazon is also infamous for having flash sales. And if you know anything about the flash sales are customized in the sense to you, if you are the purchaser. So with the algorithms and shit, they'll basically keep track of your purchases, and if there's anything that's on sale, on special, they'll let you know right away, hey, this is on sale. And sometimes they'll even have a bar at the bottom of the sales that gives you a time limit to how long you have till that sale. But that's something else. So does not weigh a lot, I have to admit. I am very impressed with how fucking light this thing is. It doesn't have a big bulky handle like you would see on things like a fire axe or a field axe or anything like that. It's not rounded, it's ovaled. So it is ovaled out a bit. The axe head is held in by an Allen screw. My only concern about that is I do feel that Allen screw is a little too small for it. So I wonder if maybe I should go find a bigger one. I have seen other videos. I've been told it's an M6, so it's a metric screw. You know what? Give me a second. Give me a second, guys. Let me go get the proper Allen wrench. I don't have the right one. I'll show you guys how it comes out. So, screws in the back. There's the Allen key head. All you gotta do is just pull. You don't even have to actually take it out of the head entirely, and then slides down the bottom of the shaft. And that's it. Now, again, I am very impressed how light this thing is, just even by itself. It probably doesn't weigh any more than 1.5 pounds, 1.75 pounds. It's not 2 pounds. It doesn't weigh about 2 pounds, but it's a lot lighter than that. There is a coating. Now, there's a stain right here because there's that American Tomahawk Company sticker was on there, and on the other side it has a Taiwan on it. But if you guys can see, there's a bit of a rough paint or coating of some sort that they put on it that's supposed to be for anti-rust. I hear a lot of complaints about that coating, and a lot of guys who customize these just end up removing the coating. There's 2 ways you can do that. One is just to use, it's a spray-on paint stripper that foams up. I've seen people burn it out in forges and shit. I don't have a forge, so I'm gonna probably have to go with the paint stripper route. And again, you just, slides it back on. I do want to probably do some work on this wood though. If you can look at it, it pretty much just looks like they only forced the head on there. They didn't really take alignment and measurement of the head in consideration. Also, look at the screw is, looks like the screw hole was done pretty fucked up. So this here is actually something that I did. That was, I damaged that. I'm not gonna blame Cold Steel for shit that they didn't do. But yeah, I did that part. There's a little bit of the wood sticking out still from here. I tried to take it off with my knife and took that little piece right there. But again, it just looks like they really just pushed it on through without really considering alignment. It's not that much off. I'll show you guys, see. It's not that much off from the center, but it's at least maybe a 1/16, an 1/8, off from center. Doesn't bother me, but I think I should fix it. And then I'll just tighten this back up. Now, one complaint I was hearing about these axes is that when you get them, there's going to be looseness in the head, and sometimes when you tighten the screw, the head does not want to tighten up to the shaft. I have yet to have that issue, although I am just doing it hand tight. I am not, putting my elbow or putting my weight into it when I tighten it, just in case, so that I don't strip it. Also, again, another concern that I have is how small that set screw is. I would replace it with a bigger one. There is also coating on the handle. The handle, I believe, is just hickory. It's either a hickory or birchwood handle. No, hickory. That's right. It's a hickory handle, between 30 and 32 inches long. And I gotta admit, I'm impressed with it so far in the sense that it is a lot lighter than I thought it would be. I like the larger head in regards to, because I want to be able to still use this for camping, but I don't want the full weight of a full size firewood axe or anything like that. I'm not gonna be chopping down a fucking tree with this thing. I've seen people try, and some people do, but that's not my thing. So yeah, I do plan to modify it. I want to take this. There's a wax on this wood here, and I do want to take that off. Maybe go get some. I'm thinking I think it's called birchwood oil, or get some linseed oil, and maybe rub it down on it, just so that I could have a little more protection. Because even with whatever coating this thing has, it still has a few stains here and there. I do want to do one thing though. I want to test out how sharp this is. I have not done anything to modify this edge, guys. This edge is still cold, straight from the cold steel factory. Did find a 2x4, and fortunately it's a junk 2x4 that we're not using. So let me just set something up here. Maybe we can see how good this thing cuts. I don't know how well that'll hold, but here. Let me bring you guys down here for a sec. Alright. So, I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm actually a little concerned. But I guess we can go ahead and at least try to get a little bit of an idea of how the edge comes off first. I'm going to lay that flat. That way. I mean, it's cutting. It works. Show you guys. Dug in about an inch. Let me see, flip this around. I dug in about an inch, but I could actually get a shot from the top there. So, let's see. Technically, this is a one-handed axe, so. Too bad I don't have fucking a vise or something that I can hold this on with. That would really help right now. Or an assistant. I mean, it works. Again, I don't think it really has much of an edge. When I felt it, I feel the edge right there. Feel a little bit of the edge there, but when it cuts, it'll probably do better once I actually work on the edge, but yeah, I need something to hold onto the wood, otherwise it's just gonna keep bouncing like that. Okay. Alright. Put that there. Yeah, no, this edge does need a little work on it, which shouldn't be a problem for me. Axe edges don't have to be as sharp as a knife edge. As a matter of fact, I've been told that it's better to use like a 200 and 400 grip max when sharpening the axes, because you want them to have a little bit of bite, I guess is the best way to describe it. That way when you do actually chop into the wood, it kind of grabs onto it. But yeah, I do like it. Not heavy. Honestly, I didn't think it was going to do that. Cutting treated wood is a little bit of a pain, but for a few whacks, it did something. About 1.5 inches at the deepest point. However, I think with a better edge, it'll do a much better job. Maybe maybe cut into 3 inches of it, 4 inches of it. I don't fucking know at that point. But again, guys, just want to give you a first look. As far as testing goes, I am working on the video. How's it going, Kaz? Oh, I told you, Kaz. You're inspiring the next video, man. Oh, the cold steel brand. I've seen the metal brakes. Lance, you know what? That is not an invalid opinion. I can agree with you with certain products in regards to cold steel. You know what? Let's talk about this real quick. I have a little bit of time. So, in regards to the knives and swords and all that, well, why do I like it? Well, mainly because I used to sell it. I used to work for a hobby shop that sold airsoft guns, and they also sold knives, swords, axes. Most of the stuff they sold was fantasy. and wall hangers. The main brands that we would carry for knives, for high-end stuff, would be Spyderco, Kershaw, um, Cold Steel, and CRKT. Uh, and so I was in it for the airsoft, and as I started working more and more at the job, and then I got invited to go to Comic Con and WonderCon to do work there, I started getting into more of the blades. Around 2012, I got a chance to go to SHOT Show. For those of you who don't know, it's one of the largest gun shows and knife shows in the country. However, it's not open to the public. You have to be a member of the industry in order to get in, and knives do count as part of the defense industry. So I got an in. There was around the time where Cold Steel had just announced that they were moving almost 70% of their production of knives to Taiwan. And a lot of people freaked. A lot of people panicked, including myself. Uh, and when we went to go talk to the company that was in charge of distributing Cold Steel here in the West Coast, their way of assuring me and my boss's comfort was to give us the cheapest knife that Cold Steel makes. It's called the Cold Steel Kudo. It is a folding knife with a ridiculously long and big blade. It's a thin blade, but it is a ridiculously big blade. And it has a really fucking weird back locking system that uses a key ring that you have to pull in order to close it. You don't have to do it to open it, but it's a very heavy lock. And I think Cold Steel still sells this knife for like 11 or 12 bucks. Now, I kind of felt insulted when I fucking got this knife because it had a made in China thing on it, and the guy was just like, look, dude, do what you want with it, see if you enjoy it or not. And honestly, I threw the knife aside in my car. Then one day, like months later, I was cleaning out a fucking bowl out of a pipe, and it was just really hard stuck on resin, so I just ended up using it as a resin cleaner for a little while. But I did have to do something with that knife where I had to pry something open, and it worked. And I was kind of shocked about it. You know, I've already had the knife for 2 years at that point. I've always thought it was a piece of shit because it was made in China or Taiwan, but the knife turned out to be pretty good. Now, that was not the story for all Cold Steel knives then either. There was a lot of knives, especially popular models, such as the Tanto GI, the ProLite Tantos, which are the folding knives with the Tanto tips that are like 3.5-inch blades. Several of their models are starting to have issues. However, in the last 5 years of me buying Cold Steel products, I can tell you that most of those issues have been mitigated and solved. Cold Steel does pay attention to quality control, more so than a lot of other companies these days. If I had to put it down to you, like who is more serious about their quality control, Kershaw or Cold Steel, I would have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, Cold Steel. You know, and why some people might get mad at me and say, well, why would you compare Kershaw to Cold Steel? You know, Kershaw still makes knives in America. No, they actually don't. Kershaw and Cold Steel are pretty close as far as the percentage of their knives that are made overseas, which is almost 70%. This is just now something that most knife companies do in the States. Now, without saying, some companies do have productions in America, like Spyderco is the best example. Spyderco is a Japanese company and native to Japan, and the Japanese branch of the company is responsible for developing a lot of different alloys and steels that are used in knives today, such for biggest example being VG10. VG10 was an invention of Spyderco as far as I understand it. But they have an American branch that makes only a specific set of knives. Most of them are folding, obviously, and no, they don't have thumb studs or any modification like that. But Spyderco does understand that, for example, it's Spyderco. Spyderco is like the Shimano of the knife world. They are the Ferrari of the knife world. You wanna show off that you have a high-end knife, buy your Spyderco. You know, buy a Spyderco Endura, buy a Spyderco Police. Even their little 3-inch blade Enduras, you're talking about a $60, $70 fucking knife. You know, it might not have the VG10 grip, but it has the Japanese steel blade on it, and that's what you really want. Is you want the high end blade. Now, some of their nicer stuff is about 80 to 140 bucks, but you're talking high end quality brand. You're talking a brand that doesn't really make many changes to their knives to begin with, and you're talking a brand that doesn't care so much about sales. Spyderco, of the knife companies I've seen, Spyderco doesn't care about sales. Spyderco cares about quality. At the same time, that bites them in the ass though, because they don't care about sales. They don't really have a cheap knife lineup. Now they have some knives that are made in China now in Spyderco, but that is less of 20% of their, I'm sorry, I think it's even less than 15% of their whole entire product line. And again, that is detrimental in the sense of sales, but they don't care. They're about, we are quality, that's what we want to be known for. So anyways, yep. I'm happy with this little purchase. Glad to see Kaz actually like this sexy thing. Now, as far as cold steel and Viking themed axes go, there are 3. This is the cold steel Viking hand axe. There is the tomahawk version, or the throwing axe version, which is the cold steel Norse hawk. Actually, this is more affordable than the Norse hawk right now. Another reason why I bought it. So this is going for about $29.50 on Amazon. The Norse hawk is going for about $34.99, 35 bucks, somewhere around there. And then there is the full length pole arm axe. That goes for about $90 to $110. I'm not too familiar with the pole axe. I've never actually had one. I've had one of these in the shop once. We've had the tomahawks once, because where I used to work at, the tomahawks were actually a very popular style for camping. Excuse me. So, but I've never seen one of those in person. I would like to. I've seen mixed reviews, but you know, it's still something I want to check out. So now I do want to ask you guys something. I do have some plans for this. I want to do some mods. Excuse me. And I want to get your opinion. I have 2 ideas in regards to the blade. Now, I got to get this coating off. That goes without saying. However way I do so, I will. But what am I going to recoat this blade with is the question. And I've chosen 2 options. Oh, excuse me, guys. Oh, man, I hate sneezing in front of people. Hate sneezing in front of a camera. I'm sorry about that. So I have 2 options as far as adding protection. I don't want to just paint on it. I'm thinking either A, I could do it a little more old school and add a patina to the blade. So once I've stripped all the protective coating and everything off, maybe get that Taiwan logo off, I could just dip it into a hot apple vinegar bath for a little while, and then pull it up, and then basically it's a way of making controlled rusting, and it's supposed to help protect the blade. It's done for a lot of knives, especially high carbon steel blades. And I should let you guys know, adding a patina can only be done to high carbon steel blades. Stainless steel cannot get a patina. So, and this is a 1055 high carbon, if I remember right, on the blade. The other option, and it seems to be like the speediest and most cost-effective option, would be to just blue the blade. What do I mean by blue the blade? Well, if you guys have seen, got old guns like 1911s, Browning high powers, old Smith & Wesson revolvers, they had a way of protecting the metal, which usually was a high carbon steel as well, called bluing, which would give you that color gunmetal blue or gunmetal gray, as some people might call it. And you could actually buy that stuff at Walmart. It's not that expensive. I think a bottle of it's like less than 20 bucks, or a whole kit of it's like 20 something dollars. And once I've stripped this, I could just blue the entire blade, and it would protect the blade pretty well, pretty thorough. And it'll darken it too, so it'll give it a more old school look to it. Okay, so if you guys have any thoughts on that, go ahead and write it in the comments section after this video, after the stream is over. I would really like to hear what you guys have to say in regards to this. The second part will be the handle. So I do have to take off all this protective wax coating on the handle first before working on it. But I've thought of three things. I could either stain this, just once I've scraped off all the coating, just stain it, shape it a little bit with some sandpaper, and just plain Jane with a little bit of a darker coating. I could maybe add some design to the shaft, and then put the protective coating on it, like, what is it called? Birch seed oil or linseed oil or boiled linseed oil, things like that. Then the last option, and I haven't done a lot of research on it, some people have told me that there's a way to basically burn the axe handle in order for it to have protection. I forget what it's called. I think it's called like ashing or ash coating the handle, and that could help with protection in the long run, and it's going to help stiffen up the wood a little bit and make it less brittle or some shit like that. But again, I'm not too researched on that. So again, your opinion would be more than useful for me. If you guys have it, please put it on the comment section of this video. I'd really appreciate it. All right, guys. So for a first look, I'm not even going to call this test of first impression because I'm going to put an edge on this blade. I am going to keep working on some content for you guys. I have not made an edited video in a while, and I will apologize for that in advance already. But the next edited video will be on the cold steel Viking hand axe. So guys, thank you very much for watching the stream.